back to episode 7 of the BettorOff Podcast. We're already up to 7. My name's Harry. That's Alex. And we're here to break down the Portuguese Grand Prix that happened last weekend, go over all of our bets. Alex didn't skunk himself this week. And
can we discuss the word grand? Is it so you have two kinds of people in the world, okay? We're in New York, so we have a lot of these people. You have people who are in finance and you have people who are in finance. Now, I personally have made it my entire life's work to kick in the nuts everyone who says finance. Now, is it the same with Grand Prix and Grand Prix, or is that just like a Euro thing? And like, are we okay with people who say Grand Prix and Grand Prix? And also, who the hell says finance?
First of all, multiple of my professors in college said finance. So if you want to take a trip up to the Bronx with me later this week to go kick some nuts, we can do that.
Yep.
I think grand versus grand, I think it's just like an accent thing, depending on.
Okay.
I think it's
Grand
the
Prix,
same language.
We're gonna let Grand Prix go, but finance, you're on notice. I'm coming for you, and I'm gonna kick you in the nuts.
Okay, that's good to know. Just a disclaimer for everybody. And we're gonna look forward to the Spanish Grand Prix that's happening this weekend. It should be a good one. But before we get into those, why don't we do a little sharing, a little icebreaker? Like we said, I'm Harry. That's Alex. We start a company called BettorOff to help you be a better. Alex, you want to tell them how that happens?
It happens because Harry's just out of college, and I'm not good at working for other people. You mean what the site does?
Oh, yeah.
The platform is sports wagering, tips and information, crowdsourcing, and community. Every pick that is made gets tracked. It's on the public ledger. It's verified so that instead of just saying that you win at 80% or 90%, you can actually verify people's pick records and therefore decide whether you want to spend money to have access to their picks or even open your own paid premium channel and charge other people to have access to your picks. The upshot being that they're going to know how good you actually are because, again, unlike Twitter where you can just claim that you win at a high rate, we're open kimono here, baby. You get to go through every statistic, break it down by sport, bet type, date, league, category. You can actually place any two people on the platform and compare against each other. We are all about data. We are all about transparency, and we're all about you either spending your money wisely to make more money or using your sports betting knowledge and acumen to make more money for yourself.
I don't think I could have said it better myself. It's almost like you're the CEO of this bad boy. But we'll get into that more later. Let's talk about the Portuguese Grand Prix. Last episode, I laid out a few points that I thought were important or that I thought were good storylines going into it. I expected a strong showing from Ferrari, and it started off that way until their strategy, which is a constant joke on Twitter and other social media platforms, seemed to screw them with signs as he dropped out of the points.
Yeah, I don't know what Ferrari's doing. I have some what feels like clarity on some teams. I feel like my clarity on Aston Martin, which was high, is now clearly lower. My clarity on McLaren, which I think was a little low, is now higher. But the two teams that I am really confused on are Alpine and Scuderia Ferrari. I can't peg them from week to week. I have no idea what's going on.
Well, I always joke around with my dad that Ferrari has some unwritten contract with whoever is doing the broadcast that they have to show a Ferrari car a certain amount in this race.
Whomever. My mother would want me to.
I'm sorry.
Whomever.
But we didn't see Ferrari at all that race. It was Charles Leclerc, or however you want to pronounce it at any given moment, raced his race. It was a really solid race from him, but we didn't see much of it because there was really no action. And the only other time we saw the other Ferrari was when Sainz was getting passed on the front straight like 3 or 4 times in 5 or 6 laps.
Yeah, it wasn't a tremendously interesting race. But why don't we get into the bets? Because I mean, honestly, talking about the race itself, not so much to talk about.
Yeah, especially this week.
Yeah.
All right. So would you care to go first? Do you want me to break yours down?
Yeah, let's go with me first.
All right. Let's see what we have here. Alex did not go 0-10 again. You were a respectable 3-3. Respectable 3-3. So let's start with one that we both had over 16.5 cars to finish at -140.
Which we have agreed to take every week, barring the odds getting ridiculous, right? Yeah. I mean, if you stare down at -400, I'm not taking it. But in that -110 to -170 zone, I think we've agreed that we like plus 16.5 every week, not necessarily week to week, but over the course of the full season as sort of a long-term strategy bet.
Yep. And then, so your next two plays were both around Lance Stroll. You've had a love-hate relationship with Aston Martin this season. It's only been 3 races. We both had Lance Stroll top 10 at +125. You took that a step further and took Lance Stroll top 6 at +650. Is this the end of the road for you and any Aston driver? Do you think there's still value here? What's your read on this?
So I'm still done with Vettel. I think I'm going to cool my heels on Stroll top 6 for the time being. I still like Stroll top 10. Although the interesting thing is he missed out on top 10 last week at +125, but he's going off at minus money this week, -110 top 10 finish. And you know me, with very minor exceptions, and we'll see a couple of them today, I don't like minus money. So at minus money top 10, I'm off Stroll this week. I'm off Vettel. I'm off the Force India Racing Point Aston Martin, green and pink race mobile.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to do some soul searching to think if I like Lance Stroll top 10 this week. But it also didn't help. He got knocked out in Q1 along with Daniel Ricciardo. But that's
But so that's possible, right? Is that I would think that almost suggests that Vegas thinks that Stroll's qualifying was a fluke, right? Because they have him now at better odds to finish in the top 10, which leads you to believe that they assume he'll get out of Q1. But now they're giving you 30% almost better odds at +900 for him to top 6. So it seems like Vegas thinks that he'll qualify better, run in the top 10, but they really don't think that he has what it takes to get into the top 6, which again makes me wonder if they like Alpine all of a sudden. But I think I'm just gonna watch Lance Stroll this week.
Okay. And then you had your little arbitrage opportunity.
For as long as they offer it to me, including this week.
Hamilton to win +125. That hits. Along with Verstappen to win +125. That lost. So you locked in a quarter profit.
Which, to me, as long as they're giving me plus money on those two to win, I'm taking them both. Every single week.
Okay. And then finally, you had Hamilton to get pole position for the race at +165.
Which is insane.
Nailed that one. That was just a good read. A very
+165. That's in, like, just to give you an idea, we'll look at it for this week. Verstappen and Hamilton are at +110 and +120 respectively. I couldn't believe that Hamilton was at +165 pole. It was high enough that it almost made me wonder if I was missing something.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it was strange because
it's why I didn't put down more on him to win, because I figured they knew something about the car that I didn't.
Yeah, it was strange because that was Portimao was a track that they were so good at last year.
Yeah,
but so you ended 3-3, like I said. You're half a unit down. Honestly, big increase from last weekend. On
the 0 for 10, I went big last weekend. I wanted to hit it hard. A lot of big plus money, Lance Stroll to, top 6 and fastest lap. So a little bit more conservative and a little bit more conservative this week too.
All right, well, we'll look forward to seeing those. Let's run through my picks real fast so we can get to the Barcelona picks. I didn't do the arbitrage opportunity. I just had Hamilton to win at plus 125. I won that. Then the morning of the race, we didn't talk about this last week, but I saw Hamilton to win, Norris top 6 at plus 200. Hit that one. That was a nice one. And then I sprinkled a little bit on Lando to finish on the podium at plus 325. That lost. Danny Rick top 6. That lost, and it got hurt a lot when he qualified 16th. Like we talked about last week, timing is important, and it can either help you or hurt you. This week it hurt both of us. Lance Stroll top 10 at plus 125, along with Alex. I had that. That lost. Honestly, even though he qualified poorly, I expected more out of Stroll. He got past Vettel towards the end of the race, maybe 15 laps to go, but then just couldn't. The gap between him and Vettel stayed the same, and the gap between him and Giovinazzi stayed the same.
Yeah, I think we got to take a longer look at Stroll. I don't know what that was.
Yeah, and then I did a little bit of double dipping. I took both McLaren's top 10 at minus 175 on Friday. After qualifying, it didn't drop as much as I thought it was going to, but it was both McLaren's finished top 10 at minus 135. So I jumped on both of those, hit both of those. Then I had both Aston Martins to finish at minus 165, hit that. And finally, both Haas drivers to finish at plus 150, hit that for a 4-3 week for plus 3.6 units.
Nicely done.
Yeah, 6-3. There we go, 6-3, not 4-3. So yeah, that's. I think the biggest takeaway from this rundown of bets is something we mentioned last week and I've mentioned this week. It's the timing, right? Like we talked about getting the bets in earlier so they can't perfect the markets as much, but also taking the bets earlier, it's motorsports, it leads to more risk, right? More variance to sneak in.
Stroll gets knocked out in Q1, and all of a sudden those bets are tough.
Yep.
So why don't we talk about Spain? How's this track going to be different from Portugal?
Well, the interesting thing about Spain most years is it's the winter testing track for every team. That's where winter testing is. It's in Spain. And so
winter and España.
You see, I'm looking at last year's results. First, second, Mercedes. Then Verstappen, because Albon was quite up there. Then the Racing Points 4-5. The McLaren 7-8. Then 9th Ferrari, 10th AlphaTauri, 11th Ferrari, 12th AlphaTauri. It comes in twos. A lot of races here because there's so little development and changes needed to the car for drivers to find that extra 10th or 2 because they're so dialed in from preseason testing. What makes it interesting this year is, they still have the data from previous years, but especially the Mercedes in the Racing Points, they don't know how the new regulations with the floorboards will affect them around this track. They haven't ran it. They did preseason testing in Bahrain. I think it's going to be a really exciting race. I think there's going to be more value on Red Bull this week because their car is less different from last year than the Mercedes. But I think it's going to be interesting because Mercedes had a 1-2 last year, like most races, and kind of waltzed away with it, kind of like a 30-second gap, I believe, something of the sorts. So I think it's going to be interesting. What are your thoughts?
I'm just hoping for a more interesting race than Portugal. I'm a little afraid we're going to get another Portugal race, frankly. a track that everyone knows well, a track that everyone is going to be able to prep for and plan for. Not as wide open as Portugal or Imola, but definitely not a tight, twisty, turny track. I love Formula One. I love watching it. I'm a little worried that we might see another sort of stratified, not necessarily runaway race, but it's barring weather that they don't see at the moment in the future. This is probably a one-stop strategy for the top teams. So we've gone over it before. Multiple stops makes it interesting. More curves makes it interesting. We obviously never hope for accidents, but tight racing and overtaking makes it interesting. And this track doesn't necessarily lend itself to any of that, which from a betting standpoint, I think makes it even more reason to bet on the guys we know. And I think we can get into that.
Yeah, this is almost like a par for the course track. Right?
Yeah,
you don't expect a Perez coming from last place to win at a
so
track
I
like
expect
Barcelona.
Perez to do well. I just don't expect Checo to have problems qualifying.
Well, I'm just saying
right?
something that
Right.
special like we had in Bahrain last year.
If I had to do something crazy, I'd take a look at Pierre Gasly, but that's not even that crazy. So why don't we get into our thoughts on this week?
All right, so I personally let's first look at the odds to win the race. Lewis Hamilton has become the favorite, no longer tied with Verstappen, but still plus money, like Alex alluded to before, plus 110. Verstappen in second at plus 145, Bottas plus 700, and Perez plus 1,000. What do you make of these?
You're offering me plus money on the two best drivers in the world by far. You're offering me plus 110 on Hamilton and plus 145 on Verstappen. I'm laying money on both of them. Last week they were even, so they were plus 125. So it was a quarter hedge. This time it depends on how you want to lay out your money. But I'm laying down money on both of them, and whichever one wins. Obviously if Verstappen wins, you end up with some more money. If Hamilton wins, you end up with a little bit less. But plus money on Hamilton, Verstappen to win every single week, all the time.
Okay, we talked about that opportunity last week, that hedging opportunity, but I didn't take it. I think I'm going to do the same thing this week. I don't think I'm going to take both of them. I think I'm going to ride Max Verstappen plus 145. Like I said earlier, I just think...
So why? What? Because you took Lewis straight up last week.
I looked historically last week. I mean, historically, there was one race at Portimao in the past 20 years. But it was one of the bigger Mercedes wins of the season, and I just didn't think Red Bull had made up that much time.
So what does Spain tell you?
Here, because of all the preseason testing that we were talking about earlier, the new floorboard regulations haven't affected Red Bull as much. So their old data means more. They still have a better tune, or are better in tuned with their car than I believe Mercedes are going to be.
Do you really believe that? Am I the only one who feels like all of this Mercedes self-deprecation is just political? This is the same stuff that happens on your way into presidential debates where everyone wants to lower expectations so that when the candidate comes out there and doesn't trip and fall on the stage, everyone thinks that he did amazingly. Do you really believe that Mercedes is struggling or tweaking? Because to me, I'm not buying it.
I think
they're just downplaying. They're downplaying.
I think it's not as bad as the media and maybe Toto Wolff says it is, but I still think it is a big factor. I mean, just from races 1 and 2 this year, we've seen the Red Bulls are there, or at least Max's Red Bull is there. Last week's race, Verstappen had to basically fight both Mercedes at once. He had to chase down Bottas while defending Hamilton, or vice versa, depending on when it was in the race. Perez was stuck behind Norris for a good amount and couldn't. I think the Red Bulls are closer.
Is that enough for you to like Checo at plus 140 on the podium?
I was going to say that. Yes.
We'll get to that.
Yeah, we'll get there. But yeah, I'm going to be on Verstappen plus 145. Alex, you said you're going to be on Hamilton plus 110 and Verstappen plus 145.
Yep.
I think it's going to be a close one. But let's talk about pole position, because I've seen our notes that you like these hedges. You like them.
You're guaranteeing me money as long as one of the two dominant drivers does what dominant drivers do. It's not as exciting. The payoff isn't as big, but yeah, there are going to be weeks. Hamilton and Verstappen aren't going to win every race and win every pole, although that would be an interesting prop. But the number of times it's going to happen at plus money is far going to outpace the number of times it doesn't happen. So you give me plus money and the ability to hedge on those two for the pole and the win all day long.
So you're on Hamilton plus 120, Verstappen plus 110.
Yep.
Okay. I think I'm staying away from pole. It's just been too up in the air for me this season. But it does continue the trend that we've been seeing, that the sport books give Verstappen the benefit of the doubt in qualifying, but then have him as the underdog or tied with Hamilton for the race.
Which, if he were to think about it, might piss him off a little bit.
Yeah, and I don't know. I don't know if we want to go back to 3 years ago when Angry Max was driving and hitting everything that moved.
Yeah, well, Angry Max was what, 22 years old, 23 years old 3 years ago? Like,
no, I think he's 23 now. I think he's like 18.
Oh, that's right.
18,
Jesus,
19.
Yeah. Angry Max had just gotten his driver's license 3 years ago. I don't think that Angry Max. Look, he's in the running for the drivers' championship at this point. You know, we're 15 minutes into the season, but like, no, you're giving me the two best drivers in the world, and you're giving me plus money on both of them. All day long, I'll take that.
Okay. I think it's sound reasoning. I just haven't been liking the pole bets. But let's move on to podium finishes. So, like we've been saying the past 3 weeks, it's basically a third place bet, because I'm not going to put money on Hamilton at minus 350 or Verstappen minus 300. That's just begging to have an engine failure.
Yeah, someone to run into them.
Yeah.
I think that's well priced.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, I think that I think there are some plays we are going to talk about later on that I think are just poorly priced. I think they might just be priced for people not to bet on them, just because. But
the top three and not so much top six, but yeah, well, top three and top six I think are the two places this week where you find plus money value.
Okay. Let's look at top three first. So we have Hamilton, Verstappen, minus 350, minus 300. Then we get into the interesting ones of Bottas, minus 165, and Perez, plus 140. Then it goes to Leclerc, plus 350, and Norris, plus 450. My money this week will be on Perez to podium. I don't believe that Bottas has earned the minus 165. Nope. I think that Perez got stuck behind Norris on a questionable overtake on if I'm not sure what the ruling was. It seemed like he let him by, but I don't think Perez was ever really in the race after that first lap. But I do think that plus 140 is much, much, much better value than minus 165 on Bottas.
Yeah, again, top three, plus 140 for Checo. I'm not sure I love Charles. He hasn't shown me much. I like Lando at plus 450. Yeah, I like Checo and Lando. especially Lando. Look, do you expect him on the podium? No. Plus 450, 100 to win $450. Would you be that shocked to see Lando outrace the three guys ahead of him on there, Bottas, Leclerc, and Checo?
No, and we talk about the Mercedes or the Red Bull second driver curse, but I mean, Bottas has been caught up in some random stuff too.
Yeah.
So it's almost like it's the curse of being a teammate to one of the best in the world.
Yeah. So I'll put some money down on both Checo and Lando to top three. Not a ton, but a little bit. Especially Lando at plus 450. That seems high to me.
Okay. Let's look at top six now, which is interesting to me because for top six, there are 8 drivers minus money.
Yeah.
You have the big two, or let's just say the big 4. Hamilton minus 600, Verstappen minus 500, Bottas minus 400, Perez minus 350.
Yeah, the Mercedes and the Red Bulls.
Yeah. So you're like we talk about the top 3 bet as being basically the third place bet. This is almost a 5th and 6th place bet if the top guys do what they're supposed to. Then you have Leclerc minus 250, Lando minus 200, Sainz minus 120, and Ricciardo minus 120.
Sainz I can see, but it doesn't. Sainz and Ricciardo, okay, but that doesn't excite me at minus money. If you gave me either of them at even or plus 110, I'd be all over it. Gasly at plus 150, maybe. It's. I don't love anything here. Alonso at plus 325. He showed us something finally last week. So did Ocon. There's my boy Lance Stroll at plus 900. Otherwise, I might be in on it, but again, I think I'm fading top 6. There's, too many people minus, and then when it hits plus money, it's not steep enough.
Yeah, if I
had to pick someone, had to, maybe Fernando Alonso at plus 325 and a little bit down on Stroll at plus 900, because that's just sick from someone who we know knows how to drive a race car. And actually looking at it now, $10 on Lance Stroll to win 90. I like that.
Oh, how you were so quick to say you were going to lay off in this week. But if the value's there, I think that I'm with you. I think there's value.
90 on Lance Stroll? Sure.
Okay. Now we're going to really test you. Top 10 finish. Let's forget about...
Yeah, I don't like any of this.
The
way too much minus money. Sebastian Vettel, I'm not even returning his calls right now. He sent me an edible arrangements. I didn't even say thank you. Giovinazzi started out looking good, but the Alfa Romeo just, isn't there. We've basically taken the Haas cars, the Alfa Romeos, the Williams, and Sebastian Vettel and said your cars aren't fast enough, or Sebastian Vettel, we just don't know if you have it in you. And everyone else at minus money to finish in the top 10, these are young guys in the case of Sonoda and Ocon. These are old guys in the case of Alonso. And then now you're just talking about having to pay, minus 200 plus to get Gasly and Ricciardo and Sainz.
Yeah, there's 13 drivers minus money for 10 spots. Yeah. I don't get it. If I were to bet, I think I might go back to him, like a toxic ex-girlfriend. Lance Stroll minus 110. I think it's still right on the cusp of even.
I think he is. I think that from pick to pick for an individual driver, he is still the best priced.
Yes, I believe
the most attractive pricing, and if you're gonna pick Lance Stroll, you can do it one of two ways, right? You pick him now, assume that last week's qualifying was a fluke, that he's going to qualify better, and that the odds will go in the other direction. Or you decide you just, last week frightened the shit out of you. You want to be safe. You want to wait until after. My feeling is, if you're going to pick Lance Stroll, take him now, right? Take him at plus 900, take him at minus 110, and roll the dice with it. And I wouldn't put down a lot of money on it, but I agree with you. He's the best priced individual driver.
Yeah, and maybe I'm feeling a little risky, and I'll throw maybe $5 on George Russell. He's ready for points in that Williams. He's ready for it.
He's got it. Like, it's got to happen at some point, right?
Portimao is a windy-ass circuit.
Yeah, I think you almost want to do it at a track where carnage is more likely.
That's true.
Right? Like, I might save my George Russell points finish for, like, Monaco. But it's gonna, I don't hate a George Russell, plus money bet for this season to score points for Williams for the first time in 1,000 years.
But also that pricing is terrible. Like
plus 275 for a Williams to score in the points is crap.
That they haven't scored in the points in 3 seasons.
And you know that he's not getting any help from Latifi. It's not like someone is there to help him out. He's all alone.
Yeah. Bad pricing. My bread and butter from last week. Let's move on to that. Both drivers to finish in the top 10. I'm staying away. I don't think this is priced well. I think this is priced to just not let people bet on it. Because who's going to take Ferrari at minus 225 when we saw what happened to Stroll last week? McLaren, minus 275. Yeah, it's hit all 3 races, but there's still reliability issues. Ricciardo could still go out in Q1 again. There's just so much variance that these prices don't make sense. And then you get to Alpine at plus 125 and AlphaTauri at plus 200.
Right, and Alpine snuck in with 8-9 last week.
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't by a lot, right? And it just
and I'll give it to them. They looked quick last week. They did.
Yeah.
But is it almost like a Williams situation? How George has come out and said, our car sucks when it's windy, so we're gonna have bad races. Has Alpine just been not so forward and is like, yeah, in certain conditions, we'll have rockets strapped to the back of our cars, but in other situations, we're going to be battling Alfa Romeo.
Yeah, it's not clear enough for the money. It's just not.
Yeah, and I'm sad because that was like my favorite bet type. That was my favorite bet. McLaren both top 10.
Yeah, and I mean, look, AlphaTauri, everyone loves Pierre Gasly. He's always going to be in the hunt for that top 10, but he's not a lock by any stretch. And Tsunoda, who I think has shown some real skill, I need more than plus 200 to choose AlphaTauri. I think I'd need more like plus 350, even plus 400.
Yeah, I agree with you there. Now we're getting into to one that I can't seem to get. I can't seem to hit either way. The safety cars. Safety car, for there to be a real safety car during the race, is now minus 200.
Which is insanity.
It changes race to race, and I believe we've had a safety car every race this season.
We have. This is one of those bets where I just assume that they know this stuff so much better, that they know about it. Just I do not think I just don't think that there's any edge to be had here at the moment on this pricing.
I honestly might, just to say screw it, I might take no safety car at plus 160.
Right. So you like saying screw. You're more of a gambler than I am.
That's true.
So, look, it's going to happen at some point. We're not going to send out a safety car every freaking week. But damned if I know week to week what track is and is not more likely to have it happen, and then how to price it. I'm staying away. I get why.
Go back and look historically on which tracks have the most safety cars or virtual safety cars? Yes. Will I for something that's priced like this? No.
No.
Virtual safety car is yes minus 115, no minus 15.
I have no grasp on what leads them to send out a virtual safety car.
One of the big things is the stewards change every week, or the head steward changes every week, who makes these calls.
Yeah.
So maybe last week Raikkonen, driving into Giovinazzi, maybe one guy just thought, oh, that's just a VSC to clean up the track, but the guy who was running it that week means yes, it is a safety car.
That's a really good point. That's rich wagering information, right? You're trying to wager on what presents itself on a week-to-week basis, and if you're getting different judges on when are they sending what cars out there, who knows? No, I'm staying away from it. You can hop on it.
We'll see. We'll see next week when I do the bet breakdown of what I did. All right. To finish the race. Oh boy, the odds are getting scarier and scarier each week. Nikita Mazepin.
Well, it's because Vegas is watching our podcast. They know what's happening.
They know I'm making $10 a week off this bet. Well, let's be real. The only bet here to finish the race driver wise is Mazepin. I'm not putting down on anyone minus 400, and that's what most people are. Mazepin is he went from plus 125 week 2 to plus 110 last week, I believe, to now minus 135. It's getting to the point.
How are you gonna take Nikita Mazepin to finish the race at minus money?
Hey, he does it more often. He finishes more often than he doesn't finish now.
But minus money?
I don't know. We're gonna have to see. Let's see how.
What is going on at this track that Nicholas Latifi is minus 400 to finish the race? Like, it frightens me. Like, they know something that I don't, because that seems insane to me. That, I mean, I get it. This is one of those the whole is greater than the sum of the parts things, right? Where they don't expect all drivers to finish, but they don't know well enough who isn't going to finish that they can give odds on it. But like, that just minus 135, the best odds for a driver to finish. Like, no.
And then both cars to finish the race. I was on Aston Martin last week at minus 165. They are now minus 250. I don't know if this is the track or not, but there's still Haas at plus money at plus 110, and I probably will be on that over the Mazepin bet.
I don't mind that. Again, we've talked about this. We've talked about Mick Schumacher and Mazepin, right?
Yep.
About Schumacher and Mazepin being at the back of the field, just leisurely strolling through the park, right? And as long as they don't have engine failure or, a heart attack, they should finish the race. They should finish the race, 3 days later. But I actually don't hate that at plus 110, but like, I don't know. Plus 110 it makes the rear of the field interesting, but I don't know. Plus 150, yeah. I don't know. I might throw $5 down at plus 110, but
I think I will be on it. They've been proving it to me that they deserve it. All right. Now finally, our season-long bet that we say is historically winning, but now it's getting to territory that you might not be liking. Over 16.5 cars to finish is now minus 165. Under 16.5 cars is plus 125.
Yeah, this is getting toward my uncomfortable zone. but I'm sticking with the under. It is the worst odds that you're ever going to see me take, although you're actually about to see me take worse odds on a longer shot, a longer term shot than this, or actually the same term, but either way, 16 and a half at minus 165. Sure. We like 17 cars to finish.
Historically speaking, it's the way to go. All right, you alluded to it. What are your season long picks right here? Because they're confusing me. I'm going to be honest. They're confusing.
So I'm looking at Max to win the championship is plus 160, which seems like good value. And Lewis to win the championship is minus 225, which is not good value, but it's never going to get any better than this because he's going to keep winning. So, like, I don't know. I feel like this minus 225 is going to be at minus 300 next week. And by the time we get to the midway point, it'll be minus 450. And then at some point, it's just going to be ridiculous. So, I don't know, throw some money behind Lewis Hamilton to win the drivers' championship at minus 125 and Max at plus 160. It's not a hedge because one of them is at minus money, but it kind of is.
So a bigger amount on Lewis and then a smaller amount on Max.
Yeah.
Okay, I can see it.
If we're talking about increments, just to keep it even, 100 on Max, or I'm sorry, say 225 on Lewis to win 100, and whatever, what is it, 60 on Max to win, or 100 on Max to win 160. Something like that.
If we figure out the numbers,
or no,
the right numbers
60 on. Yeah, I would do that. I would put more money on Lewis to win a little less money on Max to win a little bit more, and it acts as a hedge. Because I don't know who else I see winning this, right? So, yeah.
All right, so that's going to do it for our betting preview of the Spanish Grand Prix that's coming up this Sunday. So make sure to get your bets in. But one more time, before we reach everyone's favorite segment of the episode, we have been starting a company called BettorOff. It is a sports wagering information platform, a SWIP, if you would care.
I will.
Yeah, you like that, SWIP? It's a place you can go, you can track your bets, you can see everyone you follow's bets, or everyone on the platform's bets. Trash talk your friends, or just see, how they're making their money and copy them. And
Where do you go to download it?
You can go to the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store.
How many dollars is it going to cost you to download it?
It's going to be $0.
How many dollars in cents?
$0, 0 cents.
Euros?
€0. €0.
How much of the land that you own in Scotland are you going to have to sign over to us?
About 50%. Actually, 0.
Oh, 0. Good one. So you can still be Lord Harrison D'Agostino of somewhere or other shire.
Of some plot in Scotland, yes.
But you have to pay to do stuff, right? Nothing's really free.
Nope. You only pay what you want to pay, and that is to get picks from people that you can see their record and you have faith in.
It's
And you want to know something crazier? It's free, but if you are good enough, you can even get paid to use the app if people want to follow your picks.
So you're saying it's like Uber? You can either pay to ride or you can drive the car?
Or you can do both.
At the same time? Well, I guess you are riding in the car when you're driving the... Anyway.
I think that might be a paradox.
BettorOff, that's 2 ducks, a pair of them. BettorOff, iOS store, Google Play store, the Trek bicycle store down the street from me, Starbucks, wherever they sell Marvel comics, CVS where I go late at night because I have the munchies. Last night it was Halo Top ice cream. Ooh. Chocolate's only 300 calories for the whole pint. An entire bag of not Airhead sours, but like sour candies, and then and then a shareable bag. I think I've gotten into this about how angry I am at M&M's for calling M&M's a shareable bag, like the red bag of peanut butter M&M's.
Yep.
I'll be the one to decide what size is shareable. Okay, Mars company, you don't need to proactively fat shame me for a lack of portion control. I'll be the one to decide what sharing size is. I'll be the one to decide what family size is. I'll be that guy. You just keep stuffing chocolate with peanut butter and you let me do me.
And somehow we went from download our app to...
But next to the peanut butter M&Ms,
yeah, it's right there.
Download
it's
the BettorOff app. We're everywhere.
All right, and now it is everyone's favorite time of the episode. Alex, you thought this one was pretty obvious. I didn't think of it though.
This is the low-hanging fruit, right? We are never happy to see love fail, okay? But as I'm sure you all know, Bill and Melinda Gates, Splitsville. So Melinda Gates, who is about to become the richest woman in the world, and who I am searching for on Tinder constantly, I think, so they're both going to stay the co-chairs of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, but like Melinda's going to have a whole buttload of money to not spend on like Xbox 35 or whatever geeky crap Bill Gates is into, right? So let's go. I'll take Melinda to dinner, and it won't even be a quid pro quo situation. It'll just be, hey, Melinda, I'll have some Tom Petty playing in the background.
You got it all planned out.
Yep. And because I'm going to see Melinda. And if you don't get that reference, go listen to some Tom Petty. Do yourself a favor, okay? Melinda Gates is going to have billions of dollars to throw around. And once she's done saving everyone else and having McDonald's with Warren Buffett, come on over to BettorOff.
Yeah, I don't know. The big B on the screen right now could be replaced by the Melinda Gates Foundation logo.
Yeah.
We don't need this many B's. There's too many B's all over the place. Look at Alex's background.
How about the M? A
big M.
Right? Big M. Melinda, we're the place for you. We love you. Eastern Standard Time is really where you want to be, or Eastern Daylight Time. Seattle, it rains. It's not even 10 o'clock until like 1 o'clock in the morning there, which is just screwy. Come to New York, sponsor BettorOff, have dinner with me. Let's see what happens.
Well, you heard it here first. Alex is playing matchmaker for himself.
Katie Nolan will not return my calls, which might have something to do with that I don't have her phone number. But like, come on over, Mel.
Oh, Mel, it's on a nickname basis now?
Oh, yeah. I call her Mel, and for all I know, she calls
me, hey, weird guy in a Mets hat.
I mean,
if the shoe fits.
Don't judge. Don't judge our love, okay?
Well, all right, everyone. We want to thank you guys for tuning in this week. We broke down the Portuguese Grand Prix. We took a look forward at the Spanish Grand Prix. We got an insight into Alex's mind with his...
And my brain.
And your brain. And your heart. And your heart. But like we said before...
And we threatened to kick people in the nuts who deserve it. And you know who you are, people who are all like, oh, I'm in finance. I'm coming for you.
Yep. You better watch out because we will be hunting you down. But like we said, we have been BettorOff. I'm Alex. I'm Harry.
Oh, man, I got to be Harry for a second. That was cool.
That's Alex.
I had a girlfriend and a new apartment. No receding hairline.
Oh, the joys of youth.
Now I got to be me again.
All right, everybody. Have a good one. I'll take cues from Alex. Be safe. Wear your mask. Bye.